Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gooners podcast. So I'm your host, VJ, and aka Picasso. So we have got the group back and we have got a guest today with us, GravityGooner, the YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked that out, please do check it out. It's an amazing channel. He has got all the compilation videos of player touches, of games, of a lot of things he do. He do a lot of things, which is amazing. And without talking anything further, I would like to introduce him and hi, and let him introduce himself. Yeah, let us know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm GravityGooner14, basically a very big Arsenal fan. I actually have, apart from my YouTube channel, I have a separate Twitter account for just my Arsenal posts and analysis and my thoughts and everything. And I'm actually Pate's nation mate, so I'm in Ghana, and basically just doing my thing and just sharing up with the boys and joining up with our other Arsenal fans to just make it a very big experience. So I've been supporting Arsenal since my childhood, but I became very, very, very serious about Arsenal about 4 years ago when I was about to complete high school. So looks like right now I'm into it, and I don't think I'm going anywhere for now.
Once you're in for your life, mate.
Yeah.
And it's a fitting addition to the Gooners podcast because we pride ourselves as being the people who are away from the London but still fans of the Arsenal Football Club. So in that sense, welcome to the group. And we do have Bob back with us. Hi, Bob.
How are you going?
Good. And Deepak, hi.
Hello, guys.
And we have got Arun, our celebrity podcaster from the other from the other group, back with us. Hi, Arun.
Hello, guys.
So today, since this is the international break, we thought we would do something different. We thought we would go back and talk about what Arsenal is, and I'm calling this the fall of Arsenal. I mean, which means that we have fallen down from the rungs where we were, and that is true. Are you guys, anyone opposing that view that Arsenal has fallen down from where they were, or are you still? I mean, I'm not questioning whether we will rise back, but I'm still saying that we have fallen down a bit. Is that a fair summary of things?
Are you sure just a bit?
I mean, it depends on what you call it as a bit. I mean, as a glass half full guy, I could kind of see that we could have fallen further back, but we have fallen back. So we would talk about this. What are the things that has contributed in it, and what are the things that that kind of blindsided us into believing, no, we are not making this fall, we are still doing better. So there are a couple of things on my notepad here, but I would also like to hear other points from you guys. So Arun, I'll start with you regarding this, right? So the major milestone, the actual demarcation point, is the last title win or the last Champions League final season, right? And that point coincided with the move from Highbury to Emirates.
Right.
And is that one of the major factors? Although it's not like a very important factor, if you look at it, it's just a stadium move. That's how it looks like. But the financial implications it brought, there has been talks about that Arsenal has lost its soul when it moved from the stadium behind you to the stadium behind me. So
that's a good way to second there. Yeah. So the Arsenal that we grew up watching, the Arsenal that we made, the gameplay that made us Arsenal fans, it was sort of like a victim of your own success situation. Like the fact that we we were doing well. We were like becoming the champions of England. We were going on these unbeaten runs, and all that meant that we were playing Champions League football more regularly. So all of a sudden, from a point where the only big club in England was United in the 90s, there was another addition. Like we became a prominent big club, which was competing with the heavyweights, not just of England, but was also like trying. At least we never had a stellar record in the Champions League, but at least we were competing. And for a club of our size and stature at that point, with whatever we were doing, the best thing that Wenger probably did was make us global. Like again, the fact that we were winning, and at that point, the Premier League was actually becoming more global with like telecast rights and everything, meant that there was a huge opportunity that we were tapping in on. But then there was a lot more that we could possibly do, and that's what led to the plans to actually move to a bigger stadium, because the idea was that again, United was a big club, we were a big club, and there was no other big clubs at that point. And the idea was that was set to continue. In came Roman Abramovich, and the entire footballing landscape changed. So people were not really prepared for it. In a sense, it made perfect. It was the perfect move to actually go to a newer stadium. The club is growing. You are thinking about the future. You are already like on the global map. It's not like you're known only in England or only in Europe. You are known like from the west coast of Canada and Vancouver, where you are, to probably like the east coast of the rest of the world, like somewhere in Japan where the sun first rises. So we had become a global brand, and becoming a global brand meant that we had an opportunity to gain more revenue. Like it was basically maximizing, leveraging on all that, and trying to build the stadium, like you said.
Yeah, the idea makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
when they put that up, right? Like when they put that Emirates Stadium as the next home, it made sense because the numbers that they put up was we
Right.
make a 1 million increase with every game, and so that's a
Like,
30
like I
million
said, we were not accounting for Roman Abramovich, right? At that point, no one could have predicted.
No, not just that, right? Even if you consider like even if the numbers that they have put in, right? They said that 1 million a game, that's how much we would get more than what we were getting at Highbury. That was the number was. And suddenly the TV money came in, and the bottommost team is now getting 100 million a year. 100
No,
million.
actually, that was not during those times.
No, that's the thing. I was just about to say that. Yeah, for things to change from there being two big clubs to every club getting a portion of the revenue, it took a lot of time. So from being, that's when it became like from being two clubs having an advantage, to four clubs having an extra advantage, to six having an advantage. Now, clubs do have a bit of an advantage, but it is not as the disparity between the amount of money that the clubs have is not the same as what it used to be before. We didn't want to get lost in that race, and that's exactly why we made the move. You're right. They did give us numbers saying that we'd be making a lot more revenue, but then we should have been wary coming from India, where we've always been scammed by politicians who tell us that they're going to give us, they project all these numbers. So we should have been wary, but then that was our problem. But yeah, the biggest thing that actually, in my opinion, that prevented us from actually reaping the benefits of what we were trying to get or what we were trying to achieve, in my head, was mainly the acquisition of Chelsea by Abramovich. That in my head like completely changed everything. So it was no longer principled or following a model. There was no nothing. Like it was not something that was seen in England before, where you had like an owner bankrolling everything and buying every player that he could see. So that like made it sort of increase the level of competition, brought a new player into the picture.
I think David Dean mentioned something like shooting 50-pound notes across the lawn. That's what Roman Abramovich was doing. But Gigi, so the question is, right, when the move was happening, especially when Highbury to Emirates happened, it happened, it doesn't happen, those things. So let's put a hindsight on it. If we had, so the move took 200 to 300 million pounds. If we had that money and if we had put that into somewhere else, would we have been like, say, Leicester, or would we have, this is a hypothetical situation, right, where you think what would have happened if this doesn't happen, right? So what is the best situation that we could have had with the move or without the move?
Well, then that will boil back down to the owners or whoever is going to manage the club, especially with the finances. But I believe that the move actually had to happen because we needed to expand. The fans wanted to see, a lot of fans wanted to see the matches. More people wanted to come into the stadium. And then the club would have made more money from a lot of people watching the club. So it was a necessary move and it had to happen because I'm sure it got to a point Highbury wasn't able to accommodate us. But we had to be so quick enough to settle the debt and then get into Emirates Stadium, settle our debts, start rebuilding from there, and just get on quickly. Instead of getting to Emirates and saying that we owe, we can't buy, we just sit around, buy very young players, bring people from the academy, buy how should I say, low profile players and come and upgrade them. And it became very hectic because we kept doing that for a long time and was helping other clubs instead of ours. So I'm sure that will be a different topic as to the number of sales that we did. But I think in overall, the management that we did after we moved to the Emirates Stadium is what has actually cost us a lot because we made a lot of money from the stadium and I don't think we used the money the right way.
It's a combination of a lot of things coming together at the same time, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the things, I mean, if you look back at the things, 2006 is when we moved out of Highbury into Emirates, and it was also the time when one of our most influential figures at the back of the club, David Dean, I mean, he left in April 2007, which also had a huge part in the losses. I'm sure we would not go, without touching the topic at some point in time. But that also it was strange turn of events during that time. As like what Arun mentioned, Abramovich came in, and none of us really know what he was going to do until he started doing what he's doing now. So
he just bought everyone, but. Yeah,
Wenger, in many ways, he was hoping that during the late 2000s, he was hoping that financial fair play would come into his rescue, and then he would be coming out as the single most, prolific manager in the whole of the football history, thinking that everyone would follow below the line, and only for him to actually succeed in that regard. But then none of these things has happened, as we know.
But actually, GravityGooner, Gigi made a really great point in that, and I would ask Deepak the question about what he made, right? Like the owners has to take a blame in this, like especially KSE came in at 2008 or something, right? And when he mentioned that, yes, the move was necessary, but it's about how we manage the move after. That cost that started at least the whole thing. Right, yeah. we can blame Abramovich as much as we want, Deepak, but still, right, it's also our own undoing, and KSE didn't do much.
Yeah, they didn't do much during the initial stages because they gave total control to Wenger. He was the one who handled everything. They just sat back and like gave the full power to Wenger.
Yeah, so
for me, the main reason was like, it was always the players we had, and we couldn't sell them properly and buy players properly. We are like in Liverpool situation. They were like us for 5-6 years back, or like let's say 4 years back. They changed completely because of just one sale. They sold Coutinho and brought like really good players. We couldn't even make one sale for more than 50 million. We had like so many world-class players during the initial stages. We sold Van Persie for 30 million when he could have gone for 60 or 70 million, and we could have bought really good players with that money. We sold Fabregas, we sold Nasri for peanuts. So it has always been the management how it was run. And even though like Wenger made us like popular around the world, and as a brand we are right now, he is also this, he also should take the blame, like almost like 50% of the blame for our downfall as well, because he was given the total control.
But buying and selling,
he cannot just like keep on blaming the owner, and owner took a decision and they gave power to Wenger to run the club. And Wenger like also like As much as he did good things for Arsenal, he did the same thing which brought us down to this situation.
So let's put that into a box, right, Deepak? Especially you mentioned about the buying and selling. It's not Wenger in general that was the mistake in that sense. Like if you consider the buying and selling part of it, right? He did get a lot of good players. He did get, like, we didn't know who Fabregas was, who Arshavin was, who Nasri was, but he got these players out of like nothing. Like Chesney became a great player, and I mean good player at least under him.
Yeah, like
All these went ahead and
players become good, but did it like help us in any way in the trophies? No. Like
not by selling, as in like that was not the plan, right? That was not Wenger's plan when he got these players. His idea was not that we would get these players, we would make them good, and then we'll sell them and then buy stars. That was not the plan. The plan was that we'll have these players for a long time where they would help and compete. When they went to another team and helped them compete, instead of that, what Wenger was thinking, or what Arsenal was thinking, that these players would play for Arsenal and compete for Arsenal. And that didn't happen.
That didn't happen because we never had a complete team. So whose problem was that? It was the coach's problem. He should have identified like which are the areas we need improvement. Like when we had Fabregas, Nasri and anyone, we had like Chamak and Bentner as a striker, and Van Persie was always injured. So in that case, what should we have done? You should have gone out and bought in a proven goal scorer. Like we were always after Benzema for 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. You could have clearly.
We are still after Benzema.
We are still after Benzema. There's still a possibility in that.
So yeah, like so it is the problem of a coach. I would see like clearly. If you know like a team has like a gap somewhere, you just go out and buy. Even like we did. What was the transfer season like? We had
sorry, Deepak, I beg to slightly differ here. So we don't know how much of an owner KSE is, and just to give you guys an all perspective, right? Since the time that he has joined in, he has never invested any of his personal money into the club so far. And even after, even after
he all is the not entitled to like just like
done that.
Yeah, I can agree,
for
Bob.
all
like,
the reasons, if we wanted the club to be successful, the way that Arsenal were at one point in time, to the way the glory heights that they were, and the owner that we have got in is a complete opposite of what he's just a money-sucking machine in my regard, and then he just takes every possible reason for him to take every possible reason for him to take the money out of the club. And by his son joining the board of directors and then earning a salary and all those sort of things, just they're making more money out of the club and using the name and fame to actually gain recognition from things. And at the back of it, what I think of, right, out of things that, basically he wouldn't have had any funds for Wenger, and all that Wenger had to do was just to go around shopping players at a cheaper price, and then in the possibility of making them superstars at a point in time. That's what I think would have happened. Stats have also told that there's been days when Gazidis has come out and said, now we can now go on to sign anyone, which means that their hands were tied at one point in time, that they couldn't have even gone for decent strikers and things.
Actually, Gigi, Bob made an interesting point right there. Like owners are not all owners are like Abramovich, but still, owners have a lot of stake in how a club is run. And if you consider, Arsenal has become a bigger club in terms of like fan stature and in terms of reach and other stuff. Marketing has been absolutely fantastic when it comes to Arsenal. So those are part of owners' job too, which means they were able to do those things, but they were not able to do the on-pitch stuff. Do you think owners made that big of an impact in Arsenal's decline?
Yeah, but it's a lot more than that. It's a whole lot. It's something that's been coming because of how the club is being managed. And of course, the owners will definitely come in there if we talk about it. And the point is that nobody really cares about whatever is happening behind the scenes, whatever reasons, whatever is happening. All we need is that the football club is on the pitch goals are scored, points are won, trophies are picked. Otherwise, you're just in for the banter because every time your team is playing well, your players are going here, you're getting sponsors. I think basically that's one of the targets of the owners right now. They are more interested in getting the business side of Arsenal rather than getting everything together to ensure that what is on the pitch is better. So the end product of whatever decisions that is being made is partly between, at that time, as Bob Bradley said, between Arsene Wenger and the owners at the time, because you don't expect to sell your big players like Cesc Fabregas when he's getting. I still feel like at Arsenal, Fabregas wasn't at his prime yet, because he had built his youth around the Arsenal style of play, and he was getting towards his prime. And then we sold him to Chelsea to go and to play in a different system. And because of how good a player he is, he adapted so quickly. And that's the football side of it. You sell Van Persie to a team that you are competing for a trophy with. You are in the same Premier League with Manchester United. You want to win
the 20th Premier League.
Sure, you want to win the Premier League, and you sell your striker to the team that you are competing with. And it's just because I look at all the big players that we had at the time, and we sold almost all of them. Because I can start from Gary Clichy, because I was very young when Clichy was playing for Arsenal. So all of a sudden, I saw that Clichy was in Manchester City. And then to me, at that time, was just 2 weeks, and now she was in Manchester City as well. Oxlade-Chamberlain wanted to leave, because it got to a point that the club wasn't really interested in getting trophies. And the players wouldn't have anything to talk about when they are old. If you don't have anything to speak of in terms of trophies, obviously the players will leave. So if you don't invest so much as a manager, and then we give the power to Wenger, and then whatever makes up is there, we don't get the end results with trophies, then it means the club is making a very huge mistake. Because I don't think that Wenger would decide to sell his big players if the owners are giving him the money to keep them in the club. Because one of the problems that our managers have had subsequent years is that eventually when the team is being built around a particular player and then we are doing well, then that player is sold. So even when it got to the point that we have just Alex Song in the team, Barcelona just came and then we just sold it. So who are we keeping? Who are we building our team around? How many players would have played in the club for a number of years for others to come and join in? So you buy these players, you get these sets of players, and then you reinforce. One problem that I actually have with the Abramovich situation is that they bought the players and they weren't ready to give the players much patience for whatever reason to get the best out of them. So you buy Kevin De Bruyne, you don't wait for him to develop and then just sell him off. You buy Mohamed Salah, you don't wait for him to develop, you just sell him off. And they don't have a problem with that, because even in that decision that they took, they are still getting the results from the players that they have currently in the squad. So if you're Arsenal Football Club and you still keep buying players, selling players, whatever business deals you are doing, and you are not winning the trophies, and over a 22-year stretch, you have just 3 Premier Leagues, whoever is going to be blamed, I don't really have a problem with whoever is going to be blamed, but the trophies and the end results on the pitch should be clearly seen for all everybody around to see.
That's a very interesting point you put up there, right? Like Deepak, I mean, to counter your point, like exactly what GG said right now, right? Like exactly that was my point. We did have these players, we sold them. That shouldn't be the only concern for us. I mean, if you consider what he said, right? Like if you consider that this team, they even took away Vermaelen, they took away Alex Song, they took away these players who are not like world beaters. They are not like, these are not going to be, any of these players are not going to be a Coutinho-like transfer, right? Van Persie was a Coutinho-like transfer, yes, but other than that, like Van Persie and Fabregas, Nasri, if you take those 3 away, every other transfer was not supposed to be any big transfers. We shouldn't be impacted that much by selling these players. We should be able to, like, so we should have been able to do what Chelsea did. They sold De Bruyne, they sold Salah, but still they were able to build a team on top of that.
Right? They sold Salah and De Bruyne, and they had others in the team. Did we have others in the team?
Yeah. Yeah,
no.
but that is not the problem from the manager's end, right? I mean, that's not the selling part of it that's the problem. That's the buying part of it that's the problem. And even when we bought, say, let's say, Okay, even if we bought Alexis Sanchez, we bought Mesut Ozil, we did those transfers too.
But that is what I am saying. I said, right, we bought players, but we never had a complete team. Ozil was always a luxury signing. You never need an Ozil in that team. You bought an Ozil and you gave what team for him? You didn't have like a proper striker for him until you signed Aubameyang. And Ozil like started declining around that time. When you bought an Ozil, you should have bought him like a proper striker for him to play with. That has been always.
But don't you think Wenger would have bought a proper striker if the owners had invested enough for the club to have that money?
Exactly.
Yeah, so we were behind Higuain at that point in time when he was about to leave Napoli, and Arsenal were just less than 5 million in their valuation.
Oh, come on, Bob. I don't believe these things. Like we keep hearing like we were 1 million behind valuation. We keep hearing 2 million behind this valuation.
Because that's reality. That's what we've been penny pinching.
Sorry, Deepak. Deepak, go ahead.
This statement was given by Wenger. He said like we were 5 million behind the valuation. How come you wouldn't believe him?
I mean, Wenger talks a lot of shit to the media. I mean, if you remember, if you remember, I think back in 2005 or something, he mentioned, oh, we wouldn't be able to sign players from third division, French second division, and stuff like that. And then he signs Koscielny from France second division. So I mean, I've never taken Wenger to the media that seriously. But that's the thing. Like we did have a squad. We are not like we did. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay, can I
yes, jump in.
Add a point in here. Yeah, we are all talking about the money and like the amount of money that is not being spent and all that. It is not about spending a lot of money to buy a lot of players, but it's just about spending the right money to buy quality players, which we never did. We got a Thomas Vermaelen, I think in 2007 or something. He was supposed to be like the next big thing. We were all happy. And like you said, you brought the Koscielny example perfectly. When we need better players, you go to better situations to get those players. You don't go to the second division, get a Koscielny for 6 million. Be happy that you have a guy you got for 6 million who's going to come good 10 years later. That's not what you want to fix the club at that point. You know, it reflected our ambitions at that point. We wanted to be the fourth best in a league where there were 4 teams, and achieving that was not difficult.
Sorry to step in here, Arun. Maybe our fortunes could have been much different had we won that 2011 Carling Cup final against Birmingham City.
I don't know if
who brought us to the downfall, but then quite ironic in that regard. But yeah, had we won against those at the Birmingham City with the kids that we all had at that point in time, things could have turned out absolutely different.
I would again beg to differ on that. We did wait for a trophy till 2014. We won the 2014 FA Cup. In fact, since then we've just regressed. I do not know if one trophy win at that point, if it really did mean what it has to the club, like, you know, like all the trophy drought and everything, we would be finding ourselves in a totally different position right now. We wouldn't be like talking about top 6. We would be like in the Champions League, playing in the Champions League every season. That one thing changing the fortunes of the club, we were led to foolishly believe that was what's going to happen. We were led to foolishly believe that there's one.
Arun, well, I have a problem. That's the thing is, you see, a team like, I don't know, probably because they are in a different league, but you see a team like Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund is actually carrying a tradition just like Arsenal at the time, because they will build a player for about 10 years, like Lewandowski, and just sell him to Bayern Munich. So it was basically the same mistake that they are doing. But I feel like Borussia Dortmund would definitely allow the player to play for some time and sell him for a very expensive price. Because look at the amounts that they sold Jadon Sancho for 95 million. So with that amount of money, you'll be able to buy at least 2 or 3 players, and I'm sure
I totally agree with you. Yeah,
they wouldn't try to stop what's his name, this England international.
Bellingham.
Jude Bellingham.
They wouldn't stop Jude if he wants to leave the club, because they know they will allow him to play to a point. Yeah, you relax. We'll come to Haaland. That's a different issue. But even for Jude, they will allow Jude to grow to a certain level, give him that exposure to a certain height, and then sell him, because at least he would have played a little bit into his prime and they'll get good money for him. Because right now, if you take 60 for Jude, I'm not sure they will take it. But right now, I'm scared because now that we have this Newcastle takeover, will Arsenal sell Bukayo Saka if they receive an offer of about £150 million? That's a very big question. But right now that the club is being built around Saka at this point, if you're a football club and you sell Saka, the club is in trouble.
Yeah.
So the maintenance culture in selling the players is what is very difficult for us. You sell a Fabregas, who'd you bring in?
Yeah, that was going to be my point. Like you're talking about, it's the expectations. Like you did bring about the point about Dortmund, but they do play in a league where there's just one other team that is better than them on paper and on the pitch.
Exactly.
So that their realistic possibilities of finishing is in the top 4 is way higher than what ours is. Because you have like 2 to 3 teams to compete with. Just let's just like now that we're talking about like replacements, dude. I'm pretty sure all of you guys remember that one window where we signed 5 players in 10 hours within 24 hours for 50 million. That's unforgettable. But the thing is, out of the 5 players who we signed, whom would you actually call world class?
Santi.
Sorry?
Santi, because Santi in a hindsight, yes. But when we were signing, he was not world class.
World class. That's my point. We were replacing world class players instead of replacing world class players with at least like players who would be good enough for the league. We were replacing them with mediocrity, which just kept going down and down and down with every window. You mean there's no explanation for this? But you have
So I'll cut you there. I mean, we know that even though the Leicester City win of the title is kind of like a very very outside chance, which might not happen again. I mean, Spurs had a better team than that Leicester team in that season, and they didn't win it. They screwed up. I mean, we are happy that
so did we. We could have won the league. We could have won the league. We screwed up as well.
Yeah, but again, during that phase, from Leicester's win till Pochettino left, Spurs had a very good team. Let's not kid ourselves. They had a really good team, which could compete with which went on to the finals of Champions League. We hate Spurs, that is true and everything, but they had a better team. But that is not enough in this league. It's not enough that you have a quality team. You have to have a quality backup. You have to have a Manchester City team right now, or a Liverpool team right now, or Chelsea team right now.
Chelsea.
Yeah. So you have to not just have good 11. That's how the league has transpired.
We need to have a proper coach first of all. Right now we are still trying to find a coach who can take us there. Arteta might be that person, but I don't know whether he can do it alone.
Deepak has to get in an Arteta dig at any episode because
But again, because just the point that you brought up, we've not had even a good starting 11 that we can be confident about, or a starting 14-15 that we can be confident about since 2006. Since 2006.
Yeah,
we thought it was great having mediocre players back then, because we were still under the illusion that we were a big club and we were still playing in the Champions League. Once we got out of the Champions League, we were completely shown up, we were shown what the kind of team that we were. We were shown the kind of players that we had, and everyone, if you want to be in the race, I always keep saying this, if you want to be in the race, you have to keep constantly running. Everyone overrun us. We're still just waiting at the start line, and we still call ourselves a big club. So,
but you know what? That would probably be a different topic altogether, because I feel like we had it coming with the mediocrity levels. We had it coming. You go into we finished top 4. Yeah, we went to Champions League. We were battered and we brought back home, and we are happy. Oh, we went to Champions League. Instead of actually getting a squad that was ready enough to try and win it. How many times did you go into the semi-finals? I actually have a problem with Barcelona for what they did. But even after those years, we just went into the Champions League because we had qualified. We've been given a chance as Premier League team, finishing in top 4. And top 4 is a trophy. From all the years, how many trophies, all the European competitions that we have played, how many trophies can we show for that? who actually even remembers if we played in those competitions or not? Because it became a football tradition of just passing very nicely, scoring very goals, push and all those things without trying to win anything because we never built a squad that was ready enough to win anything.
I would also like to quote the terrible luck that we have in some of these runs we've had in the past. Like for example, you mentioned that we never had a squad good enough to compete on against bigger teams. But if I go back again to that ill-fated 2011 season where we were playing against Barcelona and we are almost had our foot there in the next round, only to be taken back due to that stupid decision by the referee to give Van Persie a red card.
Which year was this, Bob? Do you remember? Was it 2011?
2011.
What did we do the next year?
Exactly. That is what is also coming through. Because wait. Tottenham, relax. Tottenham went to the Champions League final. They actually beat Manchester City, went into the final for Poch to make a very ridiculous situation of bringing Kane into the squad to lose that game. And that is where all these problems about Tottenham is happening. Because if Tottenham had won that Champions League, I'm sure Tottenham will be able to chat with Arsenal because they would have had an European trophy and we wouldn't. Because if they had won it, they would have kicked on the next season. But because of how they have struggled to get there and still managing not to win it, that is where all the clubs' problems all started coming out, the disbelief in the manager and all those. So if you are a manager and you're able to take your players that high, get a chance to win something and you don't win it, that is why I think I'll give Arteta a chance, because he's proven that when he gets there, he will try, at least, even if he's not the man for the job, he will try to win it, no matter what it takes. Because he played entirely defensive for the semi-final and the final just to manage to win it and kick on to win the Community Shield, to allow the fans to have some amount of belief in him. Because if he hadn't won those two trophies, you and I know that he would have been out by now. But because he had that on his record, he's going to stay. Because if Emery had won the Europa League just like in
the finals
he did at Villa, he would have just kicked on. Nobody was chatting about Emery by now. He would have just kicked on, brought that shape into the Champions League, brought that into the Premier League. Because it happens. Look at Liverpool. They won the Champions League. They kicked on into the Premier League and they won it. Same for Chelsea.
But Gigi, but in that sense, right, what Bob was mentioning makes kind of sense for me, like especially Bob. If you consider, right, what Gigi is saying is that if we would have won something, then we would have kicked on. But that is the problem. And we are not winning because of we didn't have an ambition right there. We didn't do anything after that. That's a problem. But for example, the 2008, when Eduardo had his leg break, that season, it was something that we cannot do anything because the January window was shut. We didn't have anything else to do because Van Persie was already injured and Eduardo was playing good, but he was injured. So now we cannot fix the situation right now because it's a bad luck situation, right? In the same way how last season when Arteta was like last season or the season before, when Partey comes in, we feel that the team is complete, and then Partey goes on injured, and we are not able to see him for some time. If he had not played that Spurs game, he would have stayed fit. Whatever we say, after the December, we had a good run. If we had Partey before that, if we had a fit and running Partey for that duration, we could have done something in Europa League. We could have done something
that circles around the earlier point that you mentioned, Vijay, that we had a fit 11 and we were hoping for the fit 11 to last through the season. And even if one of the players in any one of these positions goes out, we don't have a plan B. Unfortunately, there is no one good enough to even be a backup. I mean, when we had Eduardo injured, I think we signed a Nicholas Bentner at that year, and he was actually brought in for games as an impact sub and all those sort of things, and he was trying to hold up things. When we didn't have a striker the season after, when I think it was in 2009 when Arshavin joined, he was made the central striker. He was never a striker at all. He came in as a midfielder or a winger, and he is more suited to that. And then when we didn't have any fit strikers to actually put on, he was being asked to do that role that he was not comfortable with. we carried on with our luck during many of these games. I mean, you could rue the fact that things didn't quite work out our way in some of these important games, and then people getting injured at the wrong time.
That's the thing, right? Like, there is a lot of that happening in Arsenal. Like even last season,
if I talk about ill luck, right? My ill luck, I would say that the bad omen started with us during the 50th game of the unbeaten season when Rooney just dived himself to get a penalty, which Nistelrooy converted. It just psychologically affected the team, I would say. I mean, even
now, last season, I think when Smith Rowe was played as false 9, right? That is because we didn't have anyone else to play. The only other option we had was Pepe, I think, right? The only other option we had was Nicola Pepe to be put on a false 9. We didn't have any other options to play there.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about the Europa League?
Yes, the Europa League.
That was a mistake because we had players to play. We did.
Really?
We had Lacazette. We had everyone.
We had players to play. I think that decision was one of the decisions that I really don't agree with, because I think it was just a mistake on Arteta's part, just trying to copy, his boss, tried it in the Champions League, But he shouldn't have done that, because Arteta should be definitely a different podcast for us to discuss, because if we start talking about it will be a whole different thing. So let's just move on.
Deepak's waiting for that, that podcast for a long time, because he wants to have a go at Arteta. But
the biggest other thing would be the injuries. We always had bad luck with injuries. Any good player who comes and joins us, he turns up injured. Partey was never injured in Atletico Madrid. He missed max 10 games in 3 seasons.
7 games is what?
7 games in 3 seasons with Madrid. And he comes to Arsenal and he misses like 20-25 games in one single season. Like, we are truly cursed in that sense. When it comes to injuries.
That is when the importance of squad depth comes inside, because if you have more players on the bench, you already brought one player from the academy, he's already understudy in Partey, he just goes off and just puts him in, and it's that simple. And most of the clubs have actually, Aaron, you don't think so?
No, I do. I'm just agreeing. I'm just saying, like, it's like I was just thinking, when you go for an exam, you try to go like fully prepared for the exam. You don't go in half prepared and then blame the rest on luck, or blame the rest on, like, your memory failing. You cannot do that.
You need a proper system as well to, like, just other players to come in and like play like that. Let's take Liverpool for example. Last season they had like literally their backline was out, but still they managed to finish 4th, which is like a great achievement for them. They played their literally like their academy players, so they had a proper system. Like, we chop and change in every single game, and everyone could come in and perform.
Deepak, we actually have a problem with that, because if Liverpool had decided to actually invest in squad depth and buy a proper centre back instead of bringing Kabak, then they would have had quite a nice shape to deal with, even when they had those injuries. But some fans would actually jubilate over that 4th position and celebrate it as a trophy. But 4th position is not good enough, because we are all challenging for the league, actually. And then you get 4th of the league and you're happy that you're going to Champions League. Come on, mate.
If you look at it now and say, if we finish the 4th, if you finish in 4th spot right away, then I would take it without even blink.
I would give my kidney to get a 4th position finish this season.
I feel like if you set your season goals on finishing 4th, then you finish 8th. But if you set your season goals on finishing 1st, then you can finish 4th and know that you will fail, so you have to kick on the next season. But right now, you set your goals on finishing 3rd, and you finish 7th, and because you don't get any recreational qualification from that, you feel like, we have failed. But thanks be to God, we didn't play in the Conference League, and that's good enough for us. Because what is happening in our squad right now, if we were to be playing the Conference League, the whole team would have suffered.
Yeah, that's true. But let's put a lid on this. So one last thing that you guys want to add to the discussion. Anything you could add. But one question for me is, what is that one point that defined Arsenal's decline? For me, it was when we sold Van Persie to United. That showed that we are no longer ready to compete for the title. We are ready to give our best player to someone else who's going to win the title. That means we conceded from fighting for the title. That was my point where I thought, okay, this is the point where Arsenal has decided that we are declined. Like, it's no longer a in process decline. It is like done. We have declined at that point. So like that, if I want to go through, like, Deepak, what was your point where you thought, okay, Arsenal has declined now?
Selling Cesc Fabregas to Barcelona.
That early.
Early. he was supposed to be the model how Arsenal is supposed to play, and supposed the team is built around. And you just take him away and give him, he wants to move, and we just give him to Barcelona and not replacing him with the same quality player who he was. That was my thing. Okay. And even when he wanted to come back, we had a pride that we don't want to sign him. He could have made a difference.
The stupidest decision that I've ever thought of. Really.
But Bob, what is your point? Deepak said Fabregas sale. I was on Van Persie scale. I mean, you could go ahead.
Yeah, so I would think that not kicking on from 2006 Champions League loss, not really building upon that. There could have been multiple factors, but then we didn't really kick on from that, and we just started regressing. That was the highest point that we could have. I mean, we didn't achieve, but if I look at in hindsight, look at the way Liverpool bounced back from their final loss to win it next time. So 2006 Champions League loss, and then not improving any further from that.
Yeah. Gigi, what's your point where you thought?
Well, I would have loved to agree with Bob, but I think I'll take it from the Fabregas point too. But my reason will probably be that whoever striker was going to come into Arsenal at that point was supposed to come and depend on Fabregas. So in his absence, we are clearly just stating that you're just going to pass the ball around without anybody to play that decisive pass for you, because Fabregas is in the club and he doesn't see any future in it. He's not seeing any players that are being brought in to come and help him. And he sees a Barcelona where his older brother Lionel Messi was won the Ballon d'Or is right there, and he will definitely try and leave. So in a team like Arsenal, we should always try to encourage our players that you actually have a project, you have a plan, you have something to do, and then just kick on from that. Yeah.
That's a very early ones everyone's going for. Are you going to go for Wenger leaving or whatever?
Oh my God! I think I'm gonna disappoint you here. Then I'm going way earlier. For me, like it's a tough decision between two things. One of them is like all three of you guys mentioned. It's the sale of Fabregas and Nasri in the same window, especially after Wenger came out and said, like, if we do sell our best players in the same window, we no longer qualify as a big club. And what happens is, before the season begins or within the first 3 games, our 2 best players who are fit and playing are both sold, one in the same league and one in the other league. So that for me made no sense. And I was hoping that we would be getting like at least one quality backup, and we did not. For that, for me, made absolutely no sense. For that, made it seem like the club was accepting that we're no longer there. So the other option that I have is the 2007 run-up. We had a great possibility of winning the league. I think we end up with 81 points, with United 83 and Chelsea 85, if I'm not wrong. We were like the pace setters. We were at the top of the league till the Eduardo leg break, after which we completely collapsed, starting with the captain crying in the middle of the pitch. So for me, that season, nothing changed. There was nothing that was done to put things back in order. After March, a Ferguson wouldn't have led them. Imagine a Ferguson at that situation. Can you even think of him losing the league from there? No. For me, that was a huge difference that like changed the mentality of the club. They were no longer competing for bigger things. When you finished third, it was taken as, okay, we were supposed to finish fourth, we finished third. Yay, let's go. So that became the attitude which continuously kept seeping in over and over. And before we realized, we find ourselves fighting for the 8th spot.
Anyway,
know?
so I guess we'll put a lid on the discussion now, because if we keep going down this rabbit hole, we would we would all keep getting hurt. But thank you guys, thank you for joining. And GravityGooner14, I want you to once again tell our viewers about your YouTube channel and where to follow you and stuff, so that we would know.
All right. So GravityGooner14 is the name of the channel. You can just check it up. Just open it up, just look at the videos, look at the club that you love, smash a like. You can actually see how Arsenal celebrates Arsenal victories now when you go down the videos, because on top I'm doing a lot of compilations up there because of the COVID. It's been long since we actually met together as a family to watch a football game and enjoy ourselves. So you can just look up the channel, check out the videos. And right now I'm introducing a different content altogether, where I just do skits of very important details of the matches that we missed. I did some time ago, but because of copyright, I couldn't. So I'm just trying to piece around it and just see how the thing is going to be. And you can also follow me on Twitter, GravityGooner14 as well, and you'll see all my thoughts and everything that I have there. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Awesome,
we will
man.
be having him as much as we can over here and getting his thoughts. Thank you guys for joining in today. It's been amazing talking to you about this. Hopefully we will meet again in a very nicer situation regarding Arsenal.
Maybe we after a win.
Don't worry.
Come on, you Gunners.
Thank you, guys.
Come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you Gunners.